Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting the like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now today's first story comes from Finpin from the Relationship Advice subreddit and says, my wife and I want to adopt our teenage foster daughter, but father-in-law is furious about it. And there is a trigger warning on this one of mentions of child sexual abuse. So as always, if you want to skip the story, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description and along the timeline below. Thank you. My wife and I have two biological teenage sons, one older and one younger than our foster daughter. We've been fostering kids for many years, but the goal has always been to reunify the kids with their parents, which has happened successfully each time until now. 2 years ago, we took in our foster daughter, now mid-teens. She has been through a lot and was labeled as a troubled kid and not adoptable. I won't go into details, but the issue in this matter is that there are images of her going around amongst a certain community from before we took her in. We were informed by authorities about all of this before, so it's not like this came as a surprise after we got to know her. I'm not going to lie, it has not been easy. Our family has seen a struggle, but almost everyone has been super supportive. The first 5 to 6 months were the hardest. She didn't trust us and she was angry at the world. Rightfully so. Then one random night I got up in the middle of the night and unintentionally ended up scaring her shitless, and she had a full-blown panic attack. She was okay after a little while, but it was like something clicked for her that night. It was like she realized that we were on her side, and we watched her change from this angry and sad little girl to the ambitious young teenager we know today. It started with her telling us thank you for everything we did. Small things like driving her to practice, and she said it with a smile on her face. It was so amazing to see her feeling better and not so lonely anymore. From there, everything changed. She made new friends and got a lot closer to my sons, especially the older one. Her grades went from failing multiple classes to getting straight A's. Not because we were nagging her, but because she wanted to. Each member of our household has developed a good and strong relationship with her, and the love we have for this girl cannot be put into words. We've reached that cosmic connection. She still struggles with a few things, which is totally fair after all she's been through, but she's working on it, and we're supporting her in every way we can. Overall, she's doing amazing. She's so strong, and I'm very proud of her. We made the decision to fight the system to change their verdict from non-adoptable to available for conditional adoption, because we want to commit to her for life. We want to adopt her. Last month, we got the call that they changed their verdict, and we sent in our papers that we were already ready, and things are looking very promising. The thing is, we haven't told her yet. She knows that she is now adoptable, but we haven't asked her if she wants us to officially adopt her yet. My wife and I have talked to our sons about it, and they're fully on board. We talked to my parents, our brothers and sisters and their spouses. All of them have a good relationship with our daughter, and every single one of them is so supportive of our decision and willing to fully welcome our daughter into our family. Then there is wife's parents. Mother-in-law hasn't been awful, I guess, but maybe it's because I'm comparing what she said to what father-in-law said. We told them about our plan and asked them about their opinion. Mother-in-law asked if we're sure, as our daughter doesn't quite fit in. My wife and I didn't understand at all, since our daughter has a very similar personality as we and our sons do. But it turns out she's concerned about the visual side of it, as she's clearly not our biological child, and people will start asking questions. The thing is, my wife, myself, and our sons are very tall. Our daughter is not. She is tiny compared to us and has a similar eye color, but not the exact same. All 5 of us have the same skin tone and colored and textured hair. I don't think it matters at all, but the stupidity of it is unreal. Apart from height, she could pass as our biological daughter, so I'm starting to think this is a lame excuse for something else. I told her that people would ask questions no matter what, because even if our daughter was a spitting image of my wife, it's not like she suddenly gave birth to a teenager 2 years ago. And the answer to any question is very simple. She's adopted. Ta-da! It's not like it could ever become a secret now. So I don't get it. Mother-in-law didn't say much after that, but it was very clear she was not on board. Father-in-law hadn't said anything, but he didn't seem excited at all. I asked for his opinion and he just stared at us for a minute, and then he said, "Don't do this to yourself and your family." It's safe to say I was confused, but I had no idea what to say. After a few more seconds he went off. He started talking about their family name, and he didn't want that ruined by a little whore, and what a prick, and what people would think if they saw these images floating around on the internet. I was stunned. My wife couldn't find any words either and started crying before she just left. I didn't say a word while father-in-law finished ranting, but 1,000 thoughts went through my head. Eventually he stopped talking and I still had trouble finding any words to say. I just told him, "You are sick," and I left too. My wife is destroyed after hearing what her father thinks about our daughter. We have no idea how they know about these images, as we haven't told anyone about it. I'm 100% certain my wife didn't tell them, as the relationship is not that great. My wife is closer to my mother than her own, so that wouldn't make sense. We've tried to hide this from the kids since this happened, but my older son sensed something was very wrong and asked about it. I told him our conversation with in-laws about adopting our daughter didn't go very well, and they weren't supportive. He wanted to know why. I told him I couldn't tell him, but that it was serious, and promised to talk to him about it in a few years when he's an adult. I assured him that our daughter didn't do anything wrong. Our plans haven't changed, and that it's father-in-law who is being unreasonable. My son told me that our daughter told him a few months ago that she didn't think in-laws liked her very much, especially father-in-law. This happened 2 days ago, and we haven't spoken to them since. I'm not sure I even want to try, to be honest. For me, this is going no contact worthy. I want nothing to do with them. My wife is in pieces and has mentioned that she doesn't want them in her life after this. This has tainted our adoption experience for sure. I'm afraid though that if we piss father-in-law off even more, that he will start talking to our family about these images. I do realize that he will look like a pig in everyone's eyes, but I would like to spare our daughter from everyone knowing about what's out there. I usually talk to my mother about heavy stuff in life, but I cannot talk to her about this without feeling like I'm exposing my daughter by telling my mother more than I want for my daughter's sake. Internet strangers, I have no idea what to do from here. How do I go about the situation with father-in-law without creating more mess than absolutely necessary for my daughter? Edit to add, just to be very clear, there's no doubt in our minds that we still want to ask for our daughter's permission to adopt her. Our relationship with our daughter will not change no matter what father-in-law does or does not do. I realized from the first couple of comments that it became unclear after the father-in-law incident. Sorry about that. Edit to add, 4 hours later, I'm glad to see that I'm not the only one possibly or hopefully reading too much into this. I think you have verified I'm not crazy. Wife and I had a brief talk after I posted and have decided to talk to her brothers and sister first about father-in-law's comments. It'll be a hard conversation, but it needs to happen. Before I could get to it, my wife told me that she wants to report the situation with her father, knowing about the images of our daughter. Right now we don't know what that looks like, but it has simply not been possible for him to gain this knowledge legally. There is a culprit for sure, but we will leave that to the authorities for now. Thank you for giving me a reality check, and thank you for your encouragement. We need it right now. Oh dearie me, the start of that story had me in absolute tears when OP was talking about the first 5 to 6 months being the hardest, and when she had the panic attack and she was okay, and and then things turned around for her and she began smiling and feeling better, and it's just after everything that poor girl has been through. And what absolute wonderful, lovely people OP and the close family are, and OP side of the family as well. Father-in-law, fucking hell. When he said don't do this to yourself and our family, and it's about like the family name, why would you want to be associated with a family name with a scumbag like that at the head of it? And what he called her as well, I'm not sure I'd be able to compose myself in that situation, but absolutely no contact is the way to go. Bunny says, I think your decision to adopt or not isn't going to be the trigger for father-in-law to tell people. If that was his goal, he probably has already started telling people. I think you should remove father-in-law from your decision-making process and just worry about what's right for your family. And I agree, this is definitely a good reason to go no contact. Another commenter says, personally, I'd call the cops and ask them to find out how father-in-law knew about his daughter's abuse pictures. Kel says, in what state do they label kids legally as non-adoptable? What do you mean the parents' rights were terminated now? and you're just using really strange language to describe the legal